The Maya culture was not only a neighbor, but also a direct descendant of another ancient culture, the Olmecs, whose center was in the town of La Venta, on an island covered with swamps. It seems that the Olmecs were the first inhabitants of the New World to realize the importance of the calendar. The oldest date carved in stone belongs to them, on a stele from Tres Zapotes, the year corresponding to our calendar, 31 BC. The next date, carved on a jadeite figurine, is 162 AD. But both dates are relatively late. For La Venta, carbon 14 measurements gave 1454 plus 300 BC to 126 plus 250 AD. The Olmec calendar was taken over by the Maya, who improved it, making it the most accurate calendar in the world. The first news about the Maya Amerindians dates back to around 500 BC, when the separation of the Huastecs from the Maya proper was completed, a long process that spanned over 3 centuries. This process is also linked to a question that has not yet received a satisfactory explanation, although more recent research has shown that, ethnically and linguistically, the Huastecs are related to the Great Maya family. Nevertheless, while the Maya peoples have constantly developed their culture, reaching a high level, the Huastecs remained at a rather backward stage. They did not participate in the development of hieroglyphic writing and the calendar. They did not use the typical elements of Maya architecture and in art, although they created their own style that kept it almost unchanged for millennia. This period of the Mayan culture's flourishing from 320 to 987 AD is designated by historians as the Old Empire, by analogy with the history of ancient Egypt, a period of over 6.5 centuries, which begins with the oldest date engraved on a jade tablet found on the site of the present-day city of Puerto Barrios in Guatemala. The oldest dated stele is located at Uaxacton and bears the date April 9, 328 AD, having been discovered in 1916 by the archaeologist Sylvanus Morley. It ends with the abandonment of the main centers, for reasons that to this day have not yet been fully clarified. Some archaeologists believe that the Mayan cities of the plains formed a federation during this period whose leadership was in the hands of a small caste of priests and nobles, related and dominated by religious concerns. The leadership of each city was dualistic, a chief Halak who exercised civil authority and also had religious functions, and another Akamai who devoted himself to priestly activities and the study of astronomy. The ruling class made a constant appeal for labor in the small settlements around the city, for the construction of temples, pyramids, palaces, and stars. The buildings were erected after the corn harvest, when the common people could work carrying the materials, under the direction of architects, masons, and stonemasons. The pace of construction accelerated towards the end of the Old Kingdom. Not only were more buildings built, but the quality of the constructions also improved. The masonry became finer, the buildings more spacious, the ceramics more carefully crafted, the stars more graceful, and the sculpture manifested more sensitivity, more inspiration. An interesting hypothesis is put forward, among others, by the American archaeologist J.E.S. Thompson, namely that around 900 to 950 a series of peasant revolts broke out against the theocratic minority, priests and nobles, revolts provoked by abuses in the demand for labor and the need to feed a growing number of unproductive people. It is also possible that religious causes contributed to the outbreak of these revolts, for example the adoption by the ruling hierarchy of some Toltec cult elements. According to the American archaeologist, the leaders of the cities were driven out, perhaps even killed by the peasants, the uprising spreading, one by one, from one city to another. Power passed into the hands of the leaders of the uprising and the priests of the small settlements. Thus, the great construction suddenly ceased. The people continued to frequent the ceremonial centers for certain religious services and for fairs, but without erecting any more religious buildings. Little by little, the old ones not being maintained, fell into ruin. Vegetation began to invade them. Despite the numerous theories put forward by Americanist historians and archaeologists, the mystery of the abandonment of the cities of the old Maya Empire is still not fully understood. A natural catastrophe, for example, an earthquake in this region rich in seismic activity, must be ruled out, since the cities were abandoned gradually and no traces of such cataclysms have been found.